It is time, finally, to get out of pocket. I'm your host, Michael Davis, right here on Boom Broadcasting. You obviously know that this is, I believe, the 2-year anniversary of Out of Pocket, beginning a couple years ago in August. Super excited for you guys to be joining us. Thank you so much for watching Monday and Tuesday's episodes. Of course, those had to be pre-recorded due to a scheduling conflict, but now we are back and we are live, which means any comment that's, of course, clean, appropriate, no pro Washington Commander comments will be flashed on the screen, and we're appreciative of all the support, all the engagement. So that's why we do these live sports shows, and we have way too much to talk about. We're having Aikman Chambers in. He's got the ugly shirt on, but that's okay. We'll talk about that here soon, and we'll also talk about the stuff he's doing locally with the high schools surrounding the Wilkes County area with the Blue Ridge podcast. So super excited for that. But first things first, wanted to get into this huge blockbuster trade. We talked about it last week. Juju Smith-Schuster cut by the Patriots. They're looking to try to acquire Brandon Ayuk. Well, just this week, Matthew Judon gets traded away from New England. He is now an Atlanta Falcon for just a third-round pick. Aikman, I don't know how you feel about this one right here, but this guy took me for a loop.
It did. I saw it yesterday, and this is no joke. I thought to myself, a third-round pick for Matthew Judon is, I think, great value. Now, I know he's coming off the injury that he had last year that he got, I believe, in week 4 last year. But still, I mean, when you are the Falcons who have said, we're going all in, we've signed Kirk Cousins to this massive deal in free agency, and now we're looking to take that next step. And we all know the weakest part of the Falcons defensively especially was their pass rush. I mean, they were getting blasted when they took Michael Penix in the first round. Dallas Turner was right there from Alabama. Everybody thought that was the pick. It was going to be Dallas Turner. Honestly, it was the most obvious need and fit, I thought, once you got past, obviously, the quarterback needs with Chicago and Washington and stuff there at the very top. I thought it was one of the most obvious needs. They didn't do it. And then last week, Braylon Trice, who they actually ended up drafting, got hurt. He's out for the year. So the thinnest pass rushing group in football got even thinner. On top of that, this was a no-brainer. I mean, it just goes to show how cheap New England has been, because Matthew Judon was making pennies for a guy that has had, 12-plus sacks in 2 out of the last 3 years. And I think his base salary, I believe, was like $6.5 million for the year. I don't know of any team that would not take a flyer on Matthew Judon for $6.5 million. The problem is he's worth way more than that. What he's done backs it up.
Oh, 100%. And of course, we mentioned the injury last year. He only played in 4 games. He had 4 sacks last year, but the previous 2 years with the New England Patriots, he posted double-digit sacks, both his career high. Also, mouthing off with Mike, he hosts our nightcaps nightly after Raw, NXT, Dynamite, SmackDown. He said, a Cowboys fan, Commanders fan, and Eagles fan walk into a bar. Where's Austin Summers at? Where's our Giants guy? We
gotta get it. We gotta get it.
We could get the whole gamut right here with a NFC East showdown right here, and we will talk. We'll talk more NFC East. Derek, who was on the nightcap, I believe last night. If it wasn't, yeah, it was last night. Last night was Wednesday. Whoo! What a day it has been. He says, "Wow, the Falcons are definitely making major moves on defense. Love to see it." Aikman, I'll be honest, I didn't love the moves that Atlanta was making, particularly with the head coach switch. I think they downgraded when it comes to their head coach. But Matthew Judon would that's a good grab. I mean, making questionable decisions in the first round when you sign Kirk Cousins to that big deal, and then you draft a quarterback first round, and the Falcons were in a position where they needed to make wise decisions. And I think this did that, especially for a third-round pick.
Oh, yeah, absolutely. I mean, Now the key becomes you've got to sign him, and you don't have a lot of cap space. You're going to have to pay him because you do not want the same situation the Jets are in right now with Hassan Reddick, who is yet to show up because he doesn't like what money is coming his way. You've got to pay him. Now, they're going to have to move some pieces around to make that work because Kirk Cousins has chewed up so much of that cap space. And the thing about it is, I already thought, honestly, New England was the worst team in the league going into this year. I actually had the Panthers ahead of New England. I thought they had gotten better this offseason. But especially now with Judon gone, you're left at outside linebacker with basically you've got Anthony Jennings and and then you got Josh Uche. I mean, you don't have much. You don't have a lot of depth. I don't know where this team wins 5 games. I saw yesterday evening, I looked it up because I was curious. 4.5 was their over-under win total for the year. Knowing that they play the NFC West, they open with the Bengals. You got to play everybody in that division twice. I don't know now if I see 5 wins out of this New England team. I think New England definitely got worse. Atlanta obviously got better. I just don't see it. I'm not big in the Patriots at all right now.
Yeah, and I'm going to pull up, if you're watching on our YouTube channel, I've pulled up what the New England Patriots schedule is. I mean, they're starting at Cincinnati. You know, we don't have Bill Belichick on his way to Cincinnati. We have Gerard Mayo in his first game against Cincinnati. I think that's a loss. Seattle, you know, granted, it is in New England, so that might be a toss-up there. You could get a win against Seattle. The Jets, if everybody's healthy on the Jets, that's a loss. You got San Francisco, L, Miami, L, Houston, L, Jacksonville and London, L, Jets again. Let's say they split that series. I got 2 games. Tennessee, that should be a dub. Chicago, that's an L. Rams, L. Miami, L. Indianapolis, if Anthony Richardson's healthy, that's a toss-up. And then you got Arizona after a bye. I would give the nod to Arizona. And then Buffalo, LA, Buffalo. Those are 3 losses to end the year. I don't know. What did I count? 4 or 5? I was never getting that.
I think roughly around 4 at most. I mean, I don't see it. I mean, you know, if Aaron Rodgers is healthy, I think it's generous to even give him the split with the Jets because of that Jet defense. Because I think that Jets defense could be legit. Now, granted, they need to get the issues with Hassan Reddick worked out, that they need to get worked out because he is a key piece to them trying to do what they were supposed to do last year before the Aaron Rodgers injury earlier in the year. But I don't see it with New England. I really don't, because they've already told you Drake May is not going to play until he's ready or the season's just completely, you know, bombed. So by the time we get to that Tennessee game in week 9, if through 8 games New England is 1-7, I really think you could see Drake May drop in that week 9 and they'll just coast out to end the year and see what they have.
Yeah, it would. It's going to be a long year for Patriots fans. Trevor Everett, the host of the 2 Pointers podcast, a really good friend of Boom Broadcasting and Outta Pocket. He's a Patriots guy, and he was hype about the defense, everything, and that got a lot less, I'm sure, after Judon got traded to Atlanta. That wasn't the only big news out of this week. J.J. McCarthy. We're talking about rookie quarterbacks in New England. Well, the rookie quarterback in Minnesota is going to miss his rookie year. He had surgery on his torn meniscus. Aikman, this is really unfortunate news. And I'm thinking about Minnesota, right? Like, they've had their issues with Jordan Addison, who, you know, is limping himself. He'll be okay probably before the start of the regular season, but he's had some trouble off the field. Justin Jefferson just got a big contract. They're trying to make that transition from Kirk Cousins to J.J. McCarthy, but now you got to settle for maybe Sam Darnold, which everybody knows what you're getting with Sam Darnold. I don't know if this is just a wash year already for Minnesota, especially looking at Chicago improved with Caleb Williams. You're looking at Green Bay, who made the playoffs last year, Detroit, who made the NFC Championship game last year. Like, should the Vikings just tank and see what kind of good draft pick they can get? or do you think they should trade with the team that may have a plethora of backup quarterbacks? I'm thinking Dallas. They have Cooper Rush and Trey Lance right there. What do the Vikings do? Or are they giving up?
It's tough because you don't look at Kevin O'Connell and you think that mindset. I mean, they finished out the year with Nick Mullins and Jaron Hall last year after the Cousins injury. So you look at it now, obviously they're going to give Sam Darnold every chance they possibly can. I think you can make the case outside of being the backup in San Francisco. I really think he is in a good spot here when you have the likes of Justin Jefferson. If they could get TJ Hawkinson back completely healthy, if Jordan Addison gets out of camp healthy, I know he got a little banged up yesterday as well. And then you've got Christian Darrisaw, Garrett Bradbury. You've got key guys locking down that offensive line. Sam Darnold is by every stretch of the imagination, I think, in the best place as a starting quarterback he's been in to this point in the league. So I think he gets the benefit of the doubt for as long as he possibly can. But do I feel good with Nick Mullins and Jaron Hall as my backups? I like my odds with a healthy J.J. McCarthy back there just because Nick Mullins has bounced around. We've seen what Nick Mullins brings to the table. Jaron Hall, he was injury prone last year. He's the reason Nick Mullins came into the games to finish the year because Jaron Hall got hurt because they wanted to see what they had out of him being a young guy. And so let me throw you one out there. Call me a homer if you want, just because he's buried on their quarterback depth chart that would at least bring a lot of starting experience here. Call Atlanta and see if you can get Taylor Heineke. He's third on that depth chart. He started a lot of games in Washington. Honestly, he was behind a worse offensive line in Washington. He didn't have as many weapons, and he was still able to pull us through and will us in some games to keep us right there on the doorstep of a few wins. If I'm Minnesota, I would rather go ahead and have an insurance policy like Taylor Heineke, who's currently third on Atlanta's depth chart.
Yeah. Derek saying con. I'm not entirely sure what con means, because is that like you're conning them out of a deal right there? I do know what this comment is. What the heck? How can you be a Skids fan with the glorious name of Aikman? Do you hate your parents or something?
It's
Aikman.
funny how life works. It's funny how life works.
Where did you get the name Aikman? Have you ever got that explanation?
I mean, it literally because my parents were Cowboy fans and my dad still lives in the 90s when it comes to that. And so literally my name is Aikman, and then I have a younger little brother. We're 17 years apart, and his name's Witten. So that tells you all you need to know.
Oh, wow. So you didn't like your parents growing
it
up.
was one of those things. I just became that child that decided to go the opposite way.
Well, Mac, he's my dad, and we do Dad and the Boys, which we took Tuesday afternoon off because of some scheduling stuff, but we're going to do our Cowboys update. There's a lot of updates there. Derek providing some clarity, saying condolences to the Vikings fans. That is very good. Carson Williams. Carson's been on the show a lot. He goes up to @Rolled Nears. What are the chances Sam Darnold has a Baker Mayfield resurgence? Aikman, I would say very, very slim. Because you know what that Baker Mayfield had that Sam Darnold doesn't? Dave Canales, who's now the Panthers head coach.
That's it. I mean, he does it. That's the thing. And I mean, if Jordan Addison doesn't get completely healthy, and if TJ Hawkinson doesn't get back completely healthy, there's not a lot of depth that I like in that receiver room outside of the very top, honestly, in Minnesota. I mean, Brandon Powell, Trent Sherfield. I mean, like, you don't have what I would call a ton of depth. So, I mean, you've got to keep guys like Justin Jefferson, Jordan Addison, TJ Hawkinson. You've got to keep those guys healthy. Now, I do love the fact that Minnesota, who arguably had the worst running back room in the league last year, went and got Aaron Jones. I do think that's a help for a guy like Sam Darnold to have Aaron Jones to lean on a little bit, but they just got to keep guys healthy. But I'm not I'm like you. I don't know that I see Sam Darnold having the Baker Mayfield season from last year, just because I've been bitten by Sam Darnold too many times to get to, think anything different.
Honestly, you had the Jets years, you had, him going to Carolina, and then it's like, okay, he's not good enough. Let's trade everything we have to go up and get Bryce Young, number 1 overall, which was basically ended up switching number 1 for number 1 and a lot else, your number 1 receiver option. A lot went into that trade. We've already ridiculed Carolina for that. And then Sam Darnold was with 49ers, and it was like, it was an okay backup option, but Brock Purdy was obviously the star there. And Carson, probably upset that Aaron Jones is in Minnesota right now. He's going to be doing a Green Bay Packers podcast for the Boom Broadcasting channel, booking like a mark, saying Ryan Tannehill's a free agent.
I was actually going to bring that up. I had written that down because I got curious and I went and looked and pulled up some of the current quarterbacks that are available. And when you see the names, I mean, outside of Ryan Tannehill, and you see a 39-year-old Brian Hoyer and Blaine Gabbert and A.J. McCarron, Ben DiNucci, and I mean, sure, we'll mention Nathan Peterman, who has the lowest Madden rating ever at like a 40-something overall. So how can we
well deserved?
Yeah, well deserved. I mean, God bless him for that rating because he's earned every little mark of it. But Ryan Tannehill's by far and away the best quarterback available when you look at those names that are out there, and I think you could get him at a fairly decent price. He's made a lot of money in his career. At this point, when you're a 36-year-old Ryan Tannehill, I don't think you're in a spot where you're going to demand a lot of money. If you could get him for like that $10 million for the year type of thing, maybe include some bonus incentives and stuff like that, that wouldn't be a bad guy to have in your quarterback room because he's played on a lot of teams. He's had a lot of experience between Tennessee, Miami. I think that would be your best option.
Oh, yeah. And I love Ryan Tannehill, like, especially since he came into the league. I feel like he was underrated. I don't feel like he lived up to the first round pick that he ended up getting, but I mean, especially in this serviceable. Carson asking if Joe Flacco's available. If I'm not mistaken, somebody fact check me on this. I think he's still a Colt, to my knowledge. Okay.
Yes, you are correct. He is the backup to Anthony Richardson, which, by the way, I think hats off to Chris Ballard in Indianapolis because Flacco still showed last year that he could play and he could spin it a little bit. And I think a guy like Anthony Richardson can learn a lot from Flacco.
I mean, he gave Cleveland a playoff game. Like that was he lost, but at the same time, like he good job.
Honestly, I mean, you can make an argument, not saying it's right. You can make an argument that he done as good, if not better, than your $200 million quarterback that you're stuck paying.
I wouldn't disagree on that one. What I do disagree on, and Mac brought this up earlier, is the stuff you are wearing and the stuff displayed on your backdrop. It's no secret I'm a Cowboys guy. It's no secret you're a Washington guy. Washington, Dallas, one of the biggest rivalries in all of the NFL. And, obviously I want to talk to you a little bit more about what you're doing here locally around the area for high school sports, particularly high school football this year. But, while you were on, I did want to ask you your opinion on the NFC East, because I don't think I've ever had a Washington guy on Outta Pocket. I've always had Giants fans, Eagles fans, never had a Washington guy. How are you feeling about Jayden Daniels starting for you?
I feel good about it. I thought he was the right pick. I know there were some people out there that, was like, we prefer Drake May over Jayden Daniels. I said it from the get-go that because I'd taken Caleb Williams off the table completely. I said, honestly, Jayden Daniels needs to be the pick. I just thought for us, what we would do, I felt like he would be the best pick because I felt outside of Caleb Williams, he was the most pro-ready quarterback to drop in and play now. He had all the college experience, which I really enjoy. He's already played for an NFL-minded head coach in Herm Edwards at Arizona State. So I like the fact he played a lot of college football. I think that is going to be something that is going to be key in his career, and I thought he had a good start Saturday against the Jets. I know it was only one drive, but you got to like what you see. I think the big thing is the work ethic. The kid has the work ethic from everything you read. He's got the virtual reality in Washington that he used at LSU that really helped him take that leap going into last season. He's one of the first guys in the building every morning, whether it's film room, whether it's weight room, whatever it is. He's showing up to do what he needs to do. And I think this is a kid, I think with Cliff Kingsbury at offensive coordinator, if we ride our running game and don't put too much on him in the beginning, I think we're going to be okay. For me, I think that 7-win range is kind of what I'm looking at this year. I think if he could get us to 7 wins, I think it's the starting point for something, because I think from Dan Quinn and Joe Witt Jr. on the defensive side of the football, obviously both coming from Dallas, I think our defense will be better.
Yeah, and say what you want about Dan Quinn. Obviously, people are going to make the 28-3 jokes, as you should. I mean, that is the biggest Super Bowl lead given up, and it gave Tom Brady 7 rings instead of 6. But Dan Quinn came into Dallas, and what was a joke. Like, Dallas's defense was an absolute joke. One of the worst historic Cowboys defenses of all time. Dan Quinn came into the system, and he changed that. And over the years of Dan Quinn being there, the perception has changed defensively for the Cowboys. And I noticed there were several people who followed Dan Quinn along, Dante Fowler, Dorrance Armstrong, just to name a couple. And yeah, maybe a little too much money for those role player guys, but that familiarity with Dan Quinn's system could help Washington to where, honestly, dude, I mean, you start looking at the NFC East, yeah, Philly's still a big threat with Jalen Hurts being paired with Saquon Barkley, and I don't know how they fleeced Titans out of A.J. Brown. You have the Cowboys. Dak Prescott finished second in MVP voting last year. CeeDee Lamb gets signed. Micah Parsons on defense. You still have that structure there. The Giants, there's not much there. So I would say that depending on how Dan Quinn does as a head coach, as opposed to a defensive coordinator, like Washington's easy, the third best team in the NFC East.
Oh, I've said third from the get-go. I think I think you have Philadelphia obviously at the top. The thing I watch is there more to last year's meltdown at the end of the season for Philly? Is that divide between Jalen Hurts and the head coach, Nick Sirianni, is there more to that than we know? Because that's been a lot of the rumblings. Stuff has gotten out. You saw, now obviously in retirement with Kelsey coming out this past week talking about how, there was tension there. It's been public record, and things get out in the NFL because somebody connected in the organization wants them to get out. We know that. I mean, at this point with how things work. So I think the battle really is for second place with Dallas and Washington, because I'm not sold on the Giants. I'm really not. We know what Daniel Jones is. Daniel Jones is injury prone now. I think he's got that label put on him. If you watched any of the offseason Hard Knocks, the Giants wanted a quarterback. They were willing to do a lot of things for one of those top couple of guys at quarterback. They tried to get New England to trade out of the third spot because they liked Drake May. So they actively were trying to get a quarterback in the draft. And now we will see what the Giants are left with. I just think Dallas and Washington, that battle for second in the division may also be for a wild card playoff spot. I think it has that potential because, and the only reason I say that is because we have a last place schedule from a season ago. So that's one plus that I think can help if Dan Quinn and Joe Witt Jr. are able to, tie up a few loose ends on the defense. Obviously, the front line is there with Jonathan Allen, Daron Payne. To me, Frankie Louvu was one of the great gets of free agency. I love Frankie Louvu. I thought he was one of the better players the Panthers have had the last couple of seasons. And so getting him and then getting a guy like Bobby Wagner, who at his age is still a productive middle linebacker, I really like what they done to add pieces to the defense, and then drafting Mike Sanderstill in the second round is a guy who has flashed in camp. I know he's had a strong preseason. I know today he was making plays. He was guarding Tyreek Hill in joint practices with the Dolphins because that's who we play this week, and had a couple of pass breakups in joint practices with the Dolphins today guarding Tyreek Hill. So I'm excited. I think there's potential here to lay the foundation now that we have new owners, and what a fresh breath that is for a Washington fans to have new ownership that started last year. I think things are setting up for that battle to be for second place in the division between Dallas and Washington.
Yeah, and Derek saying Trayvon Diggs coming back from injury, help out defense in Dallas. That's huge. Like, that is huge. I really wish Stephon Gilmore was still on the team. I cannot believe Gilmore is still a free agent. I don't expect him to be a free agent a month from now. Mark is saying giving him Washington. He says, give me Washington. Don't know if it's
I'm not saying it's going to happen. I'm just saying it's possible. Obviously, the CeeDee Lamb situation has to get worked out. I mean, at this point, Jerry has no leverage left with CD. You've got to pay the man. I mean, you know that Micah Parsons is coming up next offseason, and he's going to be one of, if not the highest paid defensive player in the league, and rightfully so. He's backed it up. And then there's the big one. What do you do with Dak Prescott? Because Dak Prescott is literally going to be sitting there at this point now with the quarterback market. I think 60 million. I mean, you're looking dead in the eyes of 60 plus million a year, especially if he goes out and gets you back in the playoffs this year, because if you let him walk, somebody will pay him. That's just the nature of the NFL, especially at the quarterback position.
Oh yeah, and I have no doubt Dak Prescott will be on the. Honestly, I feel like everybody's over exaggerated this contract stuff. Like 49ers dealing with the same thing, but no Cowboy in terms of Parsons, Lamb, or Prescott have went out and demanded a trade like Brandon Ayuk has, and that makes me feel confident. Mouthing off the mic, he's a known Eagles fan, will be on our team at the trade deadline. Wow. He's just trying to rile me up. He's trying to rile me up. That's what he's doing. Jerry Jones definitely out of pocket for not signing CD Lamb, and the season's just around the corner. Dude, I'll go ahead and be on record saying this. It's August 15th, 5:57. I think CD Lamb is signed by August 22nd at 5:57 p.m. So within the next week, CD Lamb is signed under contract. He's reported. Mark is saying Dallas will be successful with Lance. Dude, I watched that preseason game. Not say he's bad. I'll hold reservation for Trey Lance till I see more, because that was the first time he's competed in preseason in a year. First time he competed with Dallas. I just want to see what else he has. But a few other names you left off on Washington. Jeremy Chin backing up in the secondary. You got Frankie Louvu tag team in with Bobby Wagner. There's some dudes on defense that you guys added. Tyler Biadasz, very serviceable center for Dallas last year. And people who haven't been talking about the guys on the depth chart when it comes to Washington, like Austin Eckler, what he'll be able to do, what he'll be able to provide. He's not going to be the lead back, so he won't be run down. Jamison Crowder teaming up with Lil Zacchaeus. Dude, if Jamison Crowder, who I loved watching play at Duke at wide receiver, if he can show Zacchaeus a few moves or two, that could be considering. If he's not signed, you got to wear an Eagles shirt on Out of Pocket.
Dude, man, that's tough. That's tough. Honestly, I think, and this may surprise some people, I can stand the Dallas blue better than I can the Eagle green. It's just me. I something about, I don't know. I don't know what it is. I know Dallas Washington has the big rivalry, and maybe it's just because I've always grew up being around Cowboy fans my whole life with my dad, and everything else. But man, the Eagles, I've always struggled. I can't never. I feel like I'm more with the Eagles like you are with Washington.
Yeah, dude, honestly, Eagles are pretty bad. Like,
Yeah.
at least Washington hasn't been competition for Dallas for years,
Right.
so it's fine. It's
Exactly.
fine.
We're better.
Oh, there's yeah, all these comments asking me to wear an Eagles shirt if CD Lamb isn't signed a week from now. Max saying in the words of Mr. McMahon, no chance. That is who I'd have to that's who I'd have to answer to. Marcus saying I can lend you a Giants shirt, dude. No, that's not any better. That's gross, especially if it's an Eli Manning jersey. That'd be pretty disgusting. Now, you guys, I'm a little bit jealous, of Aikman's voice because he has his own podcast. He has a really good radio voice. We were talking about it backstage right before we went on air today, but he is doing this new project. He's always covered high school football here locally, if you're familiar with the Wilkes County area. But he started his Blue Ridge football podcast. And I know we're at 6:01, but dude, before you go, I gotta ask you, what had you start this? Is it on your own? What's the whole deal with getting this picked up?
Yeah, I appreciate you letting me talk about the podcast because I love high school football. I love football in general, college, pro, high school, it doesn't matter. But I have a special place in my heart for high school football because, man, when you're at a game in these smaller communities on a Friday night, there's just something special about those Friday nights. And to the last few years being an assistant coach at West Wilkes High School where I work at, and everything else, I have a even more appreciation now that I've seen what a lot of these coaches put into it during the week and the months out of the season. But yeah, it's all it is. It's just my own podcast. I'm doing it on my own, and we're covering just our little region of Northwest North Carolina. So Wilkes County, we've got Watauga, Ashe, Allegheny, Surrey County, Yadkin County. I've went into Burke County just a little bit. I've had Avery County, our little northwest area here that we sometimes doesn't get really looked at. Obviously the Charlotte metro area gets looked at. The Raleigh, Cary, Durham area, it gets a lot of high school football coverage. Winston-Salem, Forsyth County, rightfully so, gets a lot of high school football coverage. But our little area doesn't really have a lot. Sometimes anymore, the local newspapers, they're short staffed. They don't have the big staffs like they used to. And I called games here in Wilkes for 7 years with a local radio station here. That's where I got my start. Started when I was in high school and graduated high school. And so I just have a special place for high school football. I built a lot of relationships with a lot of good coaches in my years of calling games. And so now to be able to kind of rekindle those relationships a little bit and give them a platform to come on and talk about their program, talk about their team, promote their kids. Because at the end of the day, when you're talking high school football, it's for the kids, man. It's just a way to get their name out there, to be talked about, to be promoted. And at the end of the day, that's really why I'm doing it. It's just another platform for them to get a little bit of recognition.
Dude, that's awesome. And that's why I started Boom Broadcasting, is because, like, obviously I have my sports show 4 days a week. I have my wrestling podcast, but there's so many good content creators, not only just in terms of content, but in terms of heart as well, who like deserve a platform. Like they deserve that platform because they're like, it's not all about me. I just want to have fun and I want to help other people, whether it's, hey, let me put this show together and let me just enjoy your day, or, hey, let me shine the spotlight on them. Now, looking at your audio feed, like you have, several interviews with several different head coaches. Obviously, it's preseason right now. They're getting ready for the regular season startup. What content can people expect to see from you once the season starts going?
It's going to be one of those things where a lot of weeks it's still going to be a head coach of some school that I have on to talk about, the previous week's game, how things are going up to this point in the season, looking ahead to the game they have that week of. And then, I'm going to try to have a different guest each week as well to, just in general, as far as breaking down games, recapping games, talking about, what's on the schedule this week, what happened the week before. So it's kind of a good mix where some things will be the same, and then there'll be a couple little, odds and ends that get mixed in there as well to kind of break down and preview games as well, whether it's another media member or somebody that has also covered high school sports locally that knows the area and things like that. So a lot of head coach focus still, because that's where I really enjoy a lot of it, is getting those coaches on to talk about it and get their perspective.
Yeah, dude, that's incredible. That's awesome. And I've been, with people who have, shine a spotlight on high school sports. I know Sean Lucas, he does a couple of shows for Boom Broadcasting. He has his Grit and Grind podcast. And dude, just hearing the two of you talk, like very, very similar, like hearts and reasons behind it. So that's awesome.
Absolutely. I'm excited about it. It's available anywhere you can find a podcast. You can find it Spotify, Apple Podcast, all those outlets. It's there. You can find it there. So, if you find it, I always share it on my personal Twitter page at Radio Guy AC on Twitter is where I put it out every week. Here lately in the preseason, I've been doing about every other day. I've been putting a new one out, but now next week, leading into the start of the season, it's going to be full steam ahead Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, getting everything out next week. The last few team interviews I've got with individual coaches, and then I have a week one preview it's a combo episode that'll be covering all three Caldwell County schools, High Brighton, West Caldwell, and South Caldwell, and also looking ahead to week one in our area all in one. It'll be one bigger episode that'll be dropping next Thursday. So that's going to be out there. And, it's one of those things where, I'm not doing it for any – I appreciate you letting me have the notoriety, but I am the last reason that I'm doing this. I'm doing this because I love the sport. I love high school football. I want to give these coaches somewhere they can come on and promote their players and these kids and everything else, and just brings a good community vibe to it, I feel like.
Dude, that's awesome. Yeah, I know you don't like the praise, but kudos. Good job.
Thank you. I appreciate it.
You can take that shirt off, obviously off air. Pat yourself on the back, because you don't get a praise wearing that ugly shirt. But it's okay, man. We had a great time. Super excited to see what you're cooking with your first season doing the Blue Ridge Football Podcast. Everybody go show Aikman some love on Twitter. Go follow him at Radio Guy AC, and AC obviously stands for his first and last name, Aikman Chambers. Well, Outta Pocket will be back tomorrow, 5:30 p.m. Eastern time. If you're a Cowboys fan, I'll do Dad and the Boys. We'll drop tomorrow afternoon, noon, on Boom Broadcasting, our YouTube channel. But guys, we got to get out of here. Thank you guys so much for spending your day with us. Mac, Marcus, Mouthing Off with Mike, Derek, Carson, Booking Like a Mark, all the people in the comments. Appreciate you guys. And we'll see you back here same time tomorrow for Outta Pocket.